where today's Democrat Party is. That today's Democrat Party is characterized by two things: rage and hate. Rage and hate for Donald Trump. I think Trump derangement syndrome is a very real thing, and sadly it has afflicted most of the congressional Democrats, and it has afflicted much of the media. And rage and hate, they're now directing that towards Elon Musk. And just like Trump derangement syndrome is apparently a real medical condition, Elon derangement syndrome is its kissing cousin. And we are seeing the Democrats willingly, happily calling for violence. They're calling for violence directed towards Tesla. They've suddenly decided they hate Tesla. And we are seeing domestic terrorism playing out across the country as deranged leftists are firebombing Tesla dealerships, are throwing Molotov cocktails at Tesla dealerships, are firing rifles into Tesla dealerships. We saw just today bombs discovered in a Tesla dealership in Austin, Texas. And this is not happening spontaneously. This is happening with the eager encouragement of congressional Democrats, as you mentioned, Bernie Sanders and AOC, the eager encouragement of Hollywood liberals. John Cusack, the actor, just participated in a call calling for a day of action. Jasmine Crockett, the crazy left-wing congresswoman from Texas, who also just managed to go viral on the internet by calling for violence against me, directing violence at me in particular. These are the same people. She's also calling for people to stand against Tesla. And we are seeing the left encouraging domestic terrorism. Now, you ask what can be done about it. Here's the good news. Domestic terrorism is against the law. It is a very serious criminal offense. I have every confidence that Pam Bondi, the new Attorney General, will prosecute anyone involved in domestic terrorism. We've seen her already bring multiple charges against people who were caught terrorizing Tesla dealerships. But it's not just those that are carrying out the violence themselves. It's those who are actively promoting it and actively funding it. And I will say, many of you may have seen last week I interviewed Elon Musk on the podcast. By the way, if you missed that podcast, you should go listen to the podcast, the interview with Elon Musk, or go watch it on YouTube. I will tell you, he is an extraordinary leader. Elon has become a good friend. And we did a deep dive into what he's doing in Doge. I'll tell you, one of the questions I asked Elon, I asked him about this domestic terrorism, and I said, look, 5 years ago, Elon, you were a hero to the left. The left is obsessed with climate change. You were the biggest manufacturer of electric cars on the planet, and you were a hero. You were going to Hollywood parties. You were a cause celeb. They loved you. And then you made the courageous decision to stand up and support Donald Trump, to stand up to the abuse of power and the censorship and the radical open borders of the left, and they have turned on you, and they now hate your guts. And I asked, I said, look, do you ever have a moment where you regret it, where you say, why did I do this? And I got to say, if you watch or listen to the interview that I had with Elon, he looks at me just very matter of fact and says, I'm fighting to save humanity. And listen, I believe him. What he is doing, I conveyed to him, I said, let me tell you on behalf of millions of Texans and millions of Americans, thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for standing up. And one of the things Elon said in the podcast is he said that he believed Act Blue, the fundraising mechanism for the Democrats, was funding the domestic terrorism against Tesla and the threats against the dealerships. Now, I got to say, in some ways, I hope that is true. I don't know if it's true, but if it is true, I have every bit of confidence that the Department of Justice will use domestic terrorism laws to hold anyone accountable who is raising money to fund directed domestic terrorism. Using an incendiary device, using a pipe bomb, using a Molotov cocktail is defined as domestic terrorism. And if you are putting money behind it, if you are actively encouraging it, you will face real liability. We need to stand up. And let me be clear. It is only one side that is inciting violence. I don't want to see violence against anyone on the left. Violence is wrong. And violence is wrong whether I happen to agree with you or disagree with you. And it is the left. It is the same left that supported the Antifa and Black Lives Matter riots all over the country, the firebombing of police cars, police officers being shot, stores being looted. And by the way, just to remember, Kamala Harris, as the sitting vice president, raised money, or rather she did this as a senator, but she raised money or to fund bailing out of jail violent domestic terrorists who were burning American cities.
That's
this
correct.
is the left. They support violence, and we need to be principled. Number one, not to support violence.